snuck up to me at the Founders Crew dinner that we had, and I was just sitting there on the ground eating, and all of a sudden, like, someone was looking at my ear.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I love looking
oh,
through
so funny. Thank you. Look here, Boo Boo. Come here. Okay. Good girl. Again. A bulletin. I don't know if we're going to
What a beautiful evening it is, everyone. I want to welcome you to the Mean Chapel, and you are about to experience and hear about the lives of 9 of your beloved seniors. And really, this is their gift to you to show their affection to the student body and to this place where they've spent 3 or 4 of their last years. And so tonight, the Mean Chapel is named after Simon and Ann Mean, and I thought it would be really appropriate if Mrs. Roach talked about the importance of the Means to St. Andrew's School. So Mrs. Roach, would you do that for us?
It is an honor for me to introduce the history of the Mean Chapel this evening as we prepare to hear the eloquent reflections of our seniors. As some of you know, Nan Mean was one of the most important figures in the history of St. Andrew's School, for she was a brilliant teacher of history, religion, and philosophy, and for many years the head dorm parent on Pell Hall. Nan was also the first woman appointed to the faculty by the school's second head of school, Bob Moss. When I arrived at the school, Nan Mean was doing her best to move St. Andrews into the full responsibility and commitment of coeducation. I joined her in this work and found her leadership and mentorship so valuable in my career. To this day, I am grateful to Nan Mean for all the wisdom, support, and friendship she has given me for the past 40 years. As part of her class on ideal communities, Nan always had an end-of-year chapel featuring members of her class reflecting on their experiences in the school. Tonight's chapel honors that tradition as our seniors share their emotions and thoughts for their class and for the younger students who love and emulate them. We gather tonight in grief and mourning on the first anniversary of George Floyd's murder. This day reminds us just how important it is for communities to fight for human rights, inclusivity, and social justice. Thank you, seniors, for sharing your reflections with us tonight. I know that Nan Mean is with us in spirit in her house in Odessa tonight and would be so proud of all the seniors and the work you've all done at St. Andrews and the work that you will do as you move into the world beyond St. Andrews.
Please join me for the opening sentences found in our programs. Alleluia, risen Lord. Our desire for you. Alleluia. God of steadfast love, turn our hearts to you, that we may once again delight in your goodness and rejoice in the good news of the risen Christ, in whose name we pray. Amen. I give you a new commandment, that you love one another, just as I have loved you. You also should love one another. And by this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you have love one for the other. O gracious Lord, pure brightness of the ever-living Father in heaven, O Jesus Christ, holy and blessed, now as we come to the setting of the sun, and our eyes behold the vesper light, we sing your praises, O God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. You are worthy at all times to be praised by happy voices, O Son of God, O Giver of life, and to be glorified through all the worlds. Glory to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, now, and will be forever. Amen. Our first speech is Lila Warren.
Okay. Hi. A phrase that I try to live by in my life is, "It's the little things." This is something my mom always reminds me as the two of us deal with our strange chronic illnesses together. It helps us find moments of joy in tough situations. One of the most special things at St. Andrews in my experience has been the little moments of joy that we get to share, perhaps because we are all lucky enough to be surrounded by and live with such incredible and kind people. My favorite memories, while I do look back very fondly on them, aren't necessarily things like square dances and semis, but more so the random, bright experiences in my day-to-day life at St. Andrews that really start to add up when I'm able to appreciate them. It seems to me that the school and its environment teaches you how to make the best of situations that may be less than ideal, and sometimes even turn them into really fun memories. For me, this often looked like, as an underclassman, doing homework and writing papers that seemed daunting in classrooms with friends on Sundays, having unusual and funny conversations with my randomly assigned lunch tables, and having dance parties before big assignments or exams on dorm. When I came back to St. Andrews for my senior year during COVID, I won't lie and say I wasn't a little disappointed at first. I found myself feeling limited by restrictions, not seeing many of my friends who didn't live on my dorm or share an activity with me, and comparing my year to that of past seniors and of my own past years here. No longer was I placed at a lunch table every 3 weeks to talk to people I've never talked to, or able to smush a big group into a classroom along a founder's hallway when I had work to do on Sundays after chapel. Without these opportunities that I had enjoyed for so long at St. Andrews, my days began to feel somewhat monotonous as I struggled to recognize and appreciate those little moments that had once brought me so much joy. However, for as different as it was from my expectations from previous years here, my senior year, and particularly the spring, has become just as fulfilling as the other times I've been lucky to spend here. Early in the spring semester, my advisor, Miss Reddy, who always encourages introspection, asked me about intentions I had for my last 3 months here. I answered by explaining how I was starting to realize that in longing for similar small but joyful experiences I had enjoyed in past years, I was holding myself back during this year instead of looking for new and different but also joyful experiences. I'm beginning to understand that this was my best effort to live in the present, a phrase I've always been a little confused by. I see now that for this spring, it meant letting go of what I thought my year should have looked like based on past years and appreciating whatever happened as I was living it. Many conversations with Dr. J have also helped me put these thoughts into words, particularly during my Friday duty nights on K with him. Endings and the idea of impermanence, something that Dr. J really introduced me to, was something that often scared me. I'm not the biggest fan of change, and so the idea that everything is impermanent and always subject to change made me feel worried and lost all the time. However, during a meditation the seniors on K did with him just last week, we heard about how endings don't just end something, as the name implies, but also open new doors and allow for opportunities to come about. Applying this to moments at St. Andrews, I see that nothing here, as in the rest of the world, is promised, and this included many of the moments I enjoyed as an underclassman. However, I also see so much beauty in the fact that at St. Andrews, even while so much has changed in the course of my 4 years here, I have still been able to find moments of joy in my everyday life. Moments I enjoyed as an underclassman here that seemed to end this year opened up to other just as incredible moments. I think about my late nights on dorm and dinner conversations that allowed me to see so many of my friends and catch up with them. I think about the nights in my study room doing work interspersed with dance parties and Sour Patch Kids, and even to the time I was quarantined in the locker room, which feels like a strange dream at this point, but had its moments of joy and connection as well. I think about the many spontaneous walks out to facilities that my friends and I took on the weekends and free days we had, the time we found a baby turtle by the boathouse, the moments I started realizing that my algae for my Advice project was growing, swims in the pond full of this algae, and Starbucks functions with Miss Reddy. At St. Andrews, even in the midst of so much change, uncertainty, and loss, I have been able to find so many small moments of joy. As I reflect on the past 4 years at St. Andrews, these moments are becoming the way I define my time here. Being at St. Andrews offers so many of these beautiful but unassuming moments, And as they so clearly shaped my time here, I urge everyone to step back and always look for the little things during your days at St. Andrews that can spark so much gratitude. Thank you.
Good evening. So, when Mr. Roach first asked us to speak for this chapel, he asked us to give a reflection on our experience at St. Andrews. And that seems to be a really common theme for us seniors right now, to reflect on our time here at school, to reflect on how the school has changed us, on the end of our high school career, and on the growth and progress we've made in our years here. And Mr. Roach, after a lot of thought, the one definitive answer I reached to that first night, the one thing I think all seniors speaking tonight can agree on, is that I had no idea. I had no idea what to talk about, because for me, there's never been a single grand, life-changing moment that defined St. Andrews. The night I received that email, though, I stayed up thinking, tossing and turning in bed, wondering what I could talk about and what I could reflect on. So I asked my roommates, how do you think I've changed in the past few years? To which they each promptly responded, shut up and go to bed. You've somehow gotten shorter. And no, you smell bad. And that last one doesn't even apply to the question I was asking. I guess that's my fault for asking them questions at 1 a.m. Barring the kindest words my roommates have ever said to me, our 1 a.m. conversation really led me to one conclusion, and that in a lot of ways we're not very different from when we first met. Somehow the RLs and team captains and mentors and leaders of our school, the seniors of our school, are all still the 80-something third formers I first moved in with. My roommates and I still sing along to the Frozen soundtrack in the shower. We still play video games, and I still have no clue what I'm doing with my life. I live on Hillier with the third formers right now because it's been my dream since I was a freshman to be the same senior mentor that my seniors were for me. I've always operated under the assumption that the people I've looked up to over the years were so much more mature than me and wiser than me, and that they had everything figured out. But now that I've been there myself, I realize that that's not the case for me, and I don't think it is for any senior class, really. Quite frankly, I'm still nervous sitting up here today talking to you guys, and I'm still nervous at the thought of leaving the routine of St. Andrews and going to college. And I don't know, maybe every other senior has something up their sleeve that I don't, and I just sound really silly right now, but I think it's inevitable that we never really feel ready for the next step. But the next step approaches whether you like it or not, and all the seniors are feeling that right now. And whether you're ready or not, the next step will inevitably come. But St. Andrews has taught me what it's like to take initiative, to be independent, and to be engaged. And the past year has taught me that I'm capable of handling senior responsibilities, college applications, and an elephant-sized pandemic all at once. And just as much as we haven't changed in some ways, we're wildly different people in other ways. A lot of memories, a lot of hard work, and a lot of growth. That's been my St. Andrews experience. But I had trouble thinking of what to talk about today because none of this happened intentionally. And none of this happened in an instant. I didn't move in this past fall, suddenly wiser, suddenly more responsible, and most definitely not suddenly prepared, but somehow I did it. We all did it, you know? And what I've realized is that the true St. Andrews experience is that one moment you walk in as a third former, and in the blink of an eye, you're in the last week of your senior year, and you feel like you haven't changed at all. You and your friends are still the same 14-year-olds because you've grown together and nobody watches themselves grow. But then you think back, and in the moments in between, there are countless memories, countless moments that prove that you have grown, whether it be winning a state championship, finishing your senior exhibition, or just insulting your roommates at 1 a.m. Big or small, these moments in between are what makes your experience unique and what makes you grow as a person. And I want to take a moment to thank the seniors for growing with me and growing to tackle the crazy year that this has been together. I want to thank the teachers and staff for facilitating our growth and for always pushing us to work harder. And for the underformers, be spontaneous and don't be afraid to tackle something you might feel unprepared for. Because nobody goes into a challenge feeling completely confident. It's the way you respond to that challenge that matters. And eventually you'll realize that you're a lot more equipped for the job than you initially thought. For my third formers especially, it's been a true pleasure being on dorm with you guys. And thank you for making my own third form dream come true. Don't let school or college apps or anything stop you from having those connections with your roommates and peers and teachers and seniors and those above you. And don't let anything stop you from doing what you want to do. Put your fears aside, because soon enough you're going to be right here in my shoes, graduating in 3 days. Graduating in 3 days. And with that, congrats to the class of 2021, because we're going to do great things in college. I know we all will, whether we feel prepared or not. Thank you.
Okay, I just want to say, I don't know how I'm supposed to follow that. But, okay, here's my spiel. To be entirely honest, oh, hold on. There we go. To be entirely honest, although I practically begged Hutch to let me give this chapel talk one last time for good measure, I really struggled to come up with a speech, just like Andrew did. It's not that I don't have anything to say, rather, this school, this place, these people in the past 4 years have taught me so much that it is near impossible to condense everything into a short reflection. But since St. Andrews, and especially Mr. Torrey's creative writing class, is a turning point in my journey as a writer, I think it is only fair for me, in true writer fashion, to read you a brief list essay that I wrote in maybe an hour and a half. So here's 5 things I wish I could tell underformer Christine. 1, live in the moment, or in my case, in other words, stop stressing. I know this is easier said than done, and I'm guilty of being constantly stressed over work myself, too, but I genuinely believe this and try my best to live by that advice I got from a past senior. At St. Andrews, where we live on dorm and share so many emotions with each other, stress can spread like wildfire. However, it is when I focused on the moment, on what I have to do right now, including giving the speech, that I am able to be the most productive. Stress didn't get my work done. I did. Some of my friends can probably recall how stressed I was sophomore spring and junior fall. Looking back now, the worry was disproportionate. While I'm glad that I worked hard, I'm more grateful for all the memories formed when I'm taking a breather from work to live life in the moment with my friends. 2, it's okay to ask for help. When I first came here, I was especially bad at asking for help. My advisor, Wiz, can testify this. I had a fixed mindset that told me asking for help meant I wasn't good enough on my own. However, after crying over a couple of challenging problem sets and reading the summer reading book Mindset by Dr. Carol Dweck, I eventually realized that asking for help is not a sign of weakness, but of strength. Ultimately, I saved a lot of time and mental energy by approaching my teachers and peers when struggling with a problem, a concept, or an essay. In fact, through these conversations, I formed stronger connections with many of my past teachers and strengthened my friendships as I collaborated on homework problems with my classmates. 3, enjoy nature. This past year in quarantine has given me a deeper appreciation for nature, especially here on this beautiful campus. The many walks, adventures, and occasional runs in the woods have provided space and time for reflection, recharging, and rebuilding. Even though sometimes my friends have to drag me out of my room and away from my computer, I'm grateful for the time I spent with them in nature as we walked, marveled at the beauty, and healed. Granted, having grown up in the metropolitan of Shanghai, it was a bit of a transition to rural Delaware, but the woods and the pond have taught me to find beauty and joy in the little things with my friends, with whom I formed stronger bonds through our explorations of campus. I can say I got much closer with the friends I flipped a canoe with after struggling to flip the canoe back that afternoon sophomore year, although I've learned long ago how to canoe without flipping the boat. 4, opt in. I know this is not our class's slogan, shout out to class of 2020, but there is a reason why we got stickers made for that slogan. St. Andrews is more than this place. It is the community, the people. And only when we fully engage can we have the best experience. I only regret not spending more time on the front lawn after dinner or participating in swag activities over the weekend. And I'm beyond grateful for all the memories I've made by opting in. More importantly, St. Andrews taught me that empathy and ethos are not words by themselves, but actions, verbs. In committing to service, big and small, I feel more connected to the community here at St. Andrews and around the world, knowing that my words and actions matter, that my work can be and is done for good. 5, and finally, love boldly. When I first came to St. Andrews, I did not know love. I loved my family and my city, but I did not love boldly. I loved my friends and teachers, but I did not love boldly. I did not know that friends could not only have your back during your lowest lows, but also lift you up. I did not know teachers and advisors could be your parents away from home. I did not know a school could become your home away from home. I did not dare to love boldly, afraid that attachment would make me vulnerable, until St. Andrews. Until I got to know all these wonderful people who have helped me become the person I am today, until the love and support of my friends and teachers have reinstilled in me faith and hope and the courage to love and love boldly. It is love that got me here today, and it is love I want to continue spreading. And I hope if you take anything away from this spiel, it is to love boldly always. So thank you, St. Andrews, for making me who I am today. For that, I am forever grateful.
Four years in the making. Wow, it's a lot to take in. Feels like just yesterday I was walking into Founders for one of the very first times. Excited, yet nervous for what was to come. Excited to meet new people, nervous about what exactly was this so-called square dance, and this new, overly used term of ethos. It's no surprise that all of us have heard that somewhat cliche term, the St. Andrews experience. I'm sure many of you roll your eyes at the sound of those words. I'm not gonna lie, I did too, at the beginning of my freshman year. Today, I want to tell you guys a little bit about myself, my journey of buying into the St. Andrews experience. Every one of us is going to have a unique experience, so in no way, shape, or form will it fully encapsulate your experiences. But I do hope that parts of it will overlap with yours and help you to connect with me and our community. Many of you know transitioning to a boarding school can be very different and challenging. In my case, it was very challenging. I had no problem adapting to the St. Andrews social environment. Yet I did struggle academically, more so finding a balance between schoolwork and my friends. SAS tends to make sure that each and every one of us remains engaged throughout the day. This includes from the very moment we wake up to attend classes, up until the end of study hall, check-in, lights out, etc. As I mentioned before, I struggled extremely with my ability to find a balance. My schedule entailed breakfast with friends, classes with friends, sports with friends, then friends. I'd fallen prey to FOMO, the fear of missing out. Without the constant guidance of my parents, I was like a little kid in a candy shop. I wanted to be a part of everything. That is, everything but academics. Of course, it is impossible to live this lifestyle without failing, and without doubt, one that I would not recommend. My grades started to drop, my special comments started to rack up, marks accumulated, and my teachers started to reach out to me, my advisor, and my parents. I vividly remember early in the second semester of my freshman year, I had been assigned a US history paper. The prompt was simple: analyze some text from a few historical articles and write a 4 to 5 page essay. My teacher gave me a week to complete the paper, with many reminders to go see her if we needed additional help. Instead of seeking help, I shied away. Paired with extreme procrastination, looking back, what held me back was fear. I feared that my peers would judge me for meeting with my teacher. I feared that my teacher would see me as less intelligent if I went to see her for help. Moreover, I feared that I would say something wrong when discussing my paper's argument. This fear bubbled inside of me and hurt my initial ability to grow. My confidence took huge hits, and if it weren't for my growth today, that fear would continue to hold me back. I remember having spent a lot of wasted time and useless time contemplating the correctness of my argument. After my essay was submitted, I felt lost and hopeless. My advisor at the time, Dr. J, had approached me throughout the year, and as soon as he saw signs of my struggles, he recommended I talk to a counselor. At first, I was very hesitant. Why did I need to see a counselor? What emotional problems could I possibly have? Looking back, this was a common misinterpretation for those seeking help from counselors. My counselor helped me to realize that it's okay to be wrong, to ask for help, or simply say, I don't know. Since then, I've learned to take leaps of faith, try new things, and be confident in what I believe. I've learned not to ponder on what others would think of me, but instead to trust my gut. The moments of uncertainty are where I've grown the most. A singular or set of failures is enough to set your confidence off course. However, my peers, alongside the faculty, helped to reinstate a level of confidence within myself. Their constant care and reassurance allowed me to become comfortable within all settings. Their trust and confidence in my ability to succeed drove me to change and become better. Facing my failures and my fears of failures and embarrassment has undoubtedly affected me greatly. There are going to be times where you have to prioritize certain things over others. There will be days before big deadlines where you simply have to sacrifice a little fun at the expense of doing some work. Learn to set aside time to work on yourself. Pick up new hobbies and activities. So you might be wondering, how exactly does this relate to buying into the St. Andrews experience? Well, since my freshman year, I've learned to find a balance between academics and my life outside of the classroom. It's okay to find yourself saying no or I don't know. It's okay to focus on yourself. We are some of the luckiest kids in the country. We have access to great facilities and many opportunities. This experience that I keep mentioning is most importantly what you make of it. Embrace yourself within our community. Sign up for different events, run for leadership positions, and make yourself uncomfortable to the point where you can become comfortable in all settings. Hopefully from this talk, you understand that I'm not saying that it's not okay to procrastinate. I'm just saying that one should do it in small, manageable amounts. Kidding. What I'm trying to say is put yourself out there. Cherish your 4 years here. Make the most out of our campus, knowledgeable faculty, and diverse set of peers. Take leaps of faith. Challenge yourself to try new things. It's okay to feel uncomfortable. It's okay to feel like giving up. Change what's impossible to I'm possible. Thank you.
In the last week of my sophomore year, I stood perched on the top stone step of the cloister, looking out onto a noisy and crowded front lawn. Every St. Andrews student was there, with a Sharpie in hand, as memories and inside jokes were scribbled across the back page of each person's yearbook. As I stood there watching, I remember feeling sick to my stomach, thinking to myself, wow, I feel like I haven't made any memories this year. I can't really think of an inside joke to write in someone's yearbook. I've been alone in my room. I was overwhelmed by loneliness and I felt disconnected from my grade. This feeling had been building within me over my first 2 years at St. Andrews. You see, I didn't actually want to attend St. Andrews in the first place. My family moved from Beijing to California for my 8th grade year, where I had spent only 10 months before coming to Delaware. By the time August of 2017 came around, I finally felt settled in California. All the energy I put into adapting to the environment, culture, and social scene there was finally paying off, and I had close friendships that I didn't want to leave behind. So I spent most of my freshman year huddled in my dorm room, FaceTiming with friends from home. While holding on to all of those other people and places, I didn't know how to be here in this new place with these new people. I didn't have the energy to reacclimate to another new environment, to navigate a new culture and social scene. I told myself it was okay, my people weren't here. Sophomore year, this feeling only got worse. My parents moved again to Philadelphia to be closer to my brother and me at school. I hadn't made close friends at St. Andrews, and I was losing touch with my friends in Beijing. I worried that moving from California meant that I would lose those friends too. I was struggling with my mental health, and I felt more isolated and alone than ever. But I didn't want to reveal what was underneath the bubbly, smiley, really good at faking it Nina that everyone seemed to appreciate. I was worried what others would think of me, and I felt I always had to be on and the happiest, best version of myself. Inside, I was struggling with my identity. I was insecure and unsure of my values, interests, and place in the social scene here. This insecurity caused me to hold back, and out of fear, I stayed comfortable alone and inside my dorm room. That yearbook signing was the moment I realized why I felt so isolated. I hadn't let anyone know the real me. I ran back to dorm. My heart was pounding and tears were streaming down my face. When my roommates walked in, I sobbed to them on the floor of our annex triple and explained what I had been going through. It was the first time that I allowed myself to be vulnerable and let my guard down. They encouraged me to reach out to my parents and to the counselors, and luckily I was able to get the help I needed over the summer. So I came into my junior year with a very specific goal. I wanted to show this community more of myself and have the courage to be honest and vulnerable with those around me. My mantra became, "Be brave, Nina." By brave, I meant have the courage to tell my roommate or a friend when I was having a bad day. Instead of saying, "I'm okay," or "I'm just tired," I wanted to be honest and say what I was really feeling. I wanted to have the courage to wear those crazy mirror shoes or the zebra pants that had been sitting in my closet for a year. I started going for runs with Emily Boyer, where we would share everything on our minds. It turns out that we shared a lot of the same struggles. We treasured this Sunday morning tradition. I started to text Sally more when I was drowning in work that I had procrastinated. It turns out that she was too. We met in the library where I received a warm Sally hug and wrote our procrastinated papers together. In this busy and close-knit community, we all deal with many of the same feelings and struggles. We have each other to lean on, and we all care deeply about one another. But I realized late in my St. Andrews experience that if you ever want to feel that camaraderie, love, and support, you have to let others in. If you share every side of yourself with the people in this community, the happy, the sad, the lonely, the confused, others will feel safe enough to share more of themselves with you. And when we see more of each other, we have a deeper appreciation for one another. It takes waking up each day to ask yourself, what are you really feeling? Or what do you actually want to wear? Have the courage to leave your dorm room and bring your complete and imperfect self to this school. For me, that's when I started to see the beauty and the love in this community. I'll always carry with me the mantra that St. Andrews taught me, be brave, Nina, and I hope you can find one too.
Good evening. 2.5 months ago, my high school wrestling career ended in anticlimactic fashion. Heading into the 32-man state tournament as the undefeated 6th seed, I was ready to shock the world. I knew that I had worked too hard and put myself through too much to not stand on the podium as the first St. Andrean since 1991. From the week states ended the year before, I spent multiple hours honing my craft every day. Even with the pandemic messing up my previous plans, I persevered, drilling on a small mat in my backyard no matter what the weather. Rain, shine, 25 degrees in early March, or 105 in August. To me, the work I had put in that day and day out for an entire year straight made my success on the day of the state tournament inevitable. Throughout the winter, I found myself spending 3 hours a day inside a small wrestling room at Appoquinimink High School, practicing with them and then staying and practicing with Coach Davis until the room needed to be locked for the night. Even during the season, adversity was not a thing of the past. COVID shut down the room multiple times, leaving me back to training by myself or with Coach Davis on some mats rolled out in the field house. Despite the obstacles, I was thankful to have two of the greatest coaches and men you will ever meet in Mr. Davis and Coach Matt Boyles there beside me throughout the entire season. As the March 1st date of the state tournament approached, Mr. Davis's classic saying before big events, "Get your mind right," continued to ring through my head. My mind was right. I was locked in and ready to go. 7 days out, I found my seeding and my path to a state title. I could not have planned out a better path myself. I received multiple calls, texts, and emails from the guys on the team who were supporting my season from across the country. Everything seemed perfect, but it turned out that life had other plans for me. 5 days before states, we were wrestling live and I felt a pop in my elbow. Turns out it was a strained ligament. No big deal. Luckily, I have a professional injury healer for a dad. The next day, however, 4 days out from the biggest sports event in my life, I felt a pop while going live, but this time it was in my ankle. Turns out that exactly when I needed to remain injury-free for just a little longer, I wound up with a broken ankle in only about 84 hours until I needed to have the greatest athletic performance of my life. 3 days of intense 5-hour-a-day rehab could only do so much for a fracture with so little time. Saturday morning came too quickly, and right as my confidence should have been at an all-time high, I was still getting used to being off crutches. Time waits for no man, however, and my only option was to fight through the pain. On essentially one leg, I ended up going 2 and 2 on the day, pained by the knowledge that a healthy me was capable of so much more. A healthy me was that wrestler that pinned and tech-followed his way through the entire season, but just when I needed to be that version of myself, I wasn't. I could end the story here as one of failure, but that is not what I am here to do. Before I could even finish wiping the tears out of my eyes, the outpouring of calls, texts, and emails from the St. Andrews community letting me know that they were proud of me and wished me the best in future endeavors was astounding. Without this community, I'm not sure what waking up the next morning would have felt like, and frankly, I do not want to know. While I obviously struggled with immense mental and physical pain, the words of my classmates and faculty members which told me that I could achieve anything I set my mind to allowed me to realize that I had only started my journey of perseverance. I realized that while I had come up short of my goal, there are always more goals to set and dreams to chase, and ultimately, despite what happened, I would not change a thing. From shadow wrestling in the rain at 9:30 at night to traveling up and down the state with Coach Davis in search of open wrestling rooms, there is not a second of it that I would take back. As Rocky Balboa once famously stated, it ain't about how hard you can hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. Life is not always kind. It loves to hit hard and it does not wait to make sure that you can get back up. And sometimes you can't, at least not by yourself. But that is what community is for. And I don't know about you, but I think you'll be hard pressed to find a community that can and will pick you up like the St. Andrews community. So with that being said, I have a few pieces of advice for underformers who are looking to make the most out of their St. Andrews experience. Number 1, always set goals. Goals are what keep us, as human beings, constantly striving for something greater. These goals do not have to be athletic either. They can be academic, artistic, social, or anything based on your passions. We as students are fortunate enough to be a part of a community that encourages us to chase and achieve our dreams, whatever they may be. Number 2, surround yourself with people who want to see you succeed. Typically in life, this is the step that most people have trouble doing. Truly good and supportive people can be difficult to come across, but at St. Andrews, you are surrounded by over 300 students and 77 faculty members, not to mention hundreds of staff members as well, who are all dedicated to seeing you grow, learn, and succeed. Need proof? The 5-to-1 student-to-teacher ratio, as well as the millions of dollars of financial aid granted, are all proof of just how much every member of this community wants to see you achieve your goals. My third piece of advice is the one that I know will give me the best memories 50 years from now. As cliche as it sounds, it is the journey that counts. That night after the tournament when I got home, I sent Coach Davis a text letting him know that I was thankful for everything that and his family had done for me over the past few years. I told him that I was sorry that I could not be the wrestler to stand on the state podium for him, but that I was highly thankful for the journey. His response read, "Buddy, it's been an awesome journey. Our relationship won't end at the end of the season. Coach Matt and I are so proud of you, and I wish I had some magic words that could fix your temporary pain, but I don't. But know this, I'll be there when you need me. Rest, spend time with family, and thank God for all the wonderful things in your life. Coach, thank you for pushing me every day, even when you could have been spending time with friends and family. Thank you for making me not just the wrestler, but the man I am today. So underformers, you still have time to chase your dreams, but remember that time flies, and soon all you will have are memories. So never forget to set goals, surround yourself with people to help you achieve those goals, enjoy the journey, and be thankful that you go to a school that loves you and cares about you so much. And don't forget to Griffin up. Thank you.
To say that my time at St. Andrews was a culture shock would be a major understatement. Coming from Queens, New York, which is one of the most ethnically and culturally diverse places in the world, I thought I was already well prepared for any possible differences I would encounter at SAS. With my experiences in a Queens public school, I've already been in classes with people of all sorts of different ethnicities, nationalities, religions, and languages. I've even had several classmates who hardly spoke any English, and who I'd communicate with through Google Translate as we'd laugh together at the funny mistranslations appearing between us. All this being said, I ignorantly thought that I had seen it all. And maybe I did in regards to certain identities, but I definitely hadn't in terms of financial differences. Within my public school, we were all different in our own ways, but usually not so much in terms of the money we had. We all pretty much wore the same types of clothes, did the same things during the summers or in the afternoons, and went home to our apartments or our little houses at the end of the day. But upon arriving at St. Andrews in the fall of 2017, I quickly realized how different my classmates were from me, and how they were different in ways that I wasn't accustomed to. They talk about their lives and all the countries they've lived in or traveled to, or were going to travel to, the private schools they've come from, their summer camps or summer programs, what their parents' jobs were or their grandparents' jobs were and where they went to school, the country clubs they were part of or the boats they owned, and so on. All of which were conversations that I felt too embarrassed to partake in, too afraid to be a downer and say that I'd never been to another country, that I went to public school, that my summer camps had all been nonprofits, that my parents and siblings and grandparents all went to public schools and community colleges, and so on. Although I became more used to these financial divides as my time at St. Andrews continued, time didn't take away the grief that these differences would still make me feel, and this became especially true during the coronavirus outbreak in the US. When it became clear last March that COVID-19 was spreading rapidly and dangerously throughout New York, I never left my apartment. For 3 months straight, I never went outside, never got into a car, never saw anyone other than my immediate family, and never so much as took a step outside of my front door. For 3 months straight, my entire world was just what I could see from my apartment window. And as I looked out that window, I thought about how different things were for other students. I'd see on social media the trips they would have, or the hobbies they were learning, or the events they were partaking in. I thought about how most of my classmates didn't have to live like Rapunzel trapped in her tower, and at the very least had the privilege of a backyard where they could get some fresh air and read a book in the spring sun, or maybe a woodsy area nearby where they could take a walk without fear of running into people. I thought about how unfair the world was, not only for this pandemic, but for how I and so many others have worked so hard throughout our entire lives, only to be given so much less. These feelings continued throughout the virtual term of junior and senior year, seeing students doing Zoom classes from hotel rooms or ski resorts or their friends' houses. They continued when my sister contracted the virus and my family of 6 were helpless to protect ourselves due to the small confines of our living space, Always wearing masks, constantly sanitizing ourselves, locking down the room my sister slept in, sleeping uncomfortably in our little living room while trying to protect my 64-year-old father, eating either flavorless or too salty food from our coronavirus food relief packages. All the while, life went on for everyone else. Others continued to do as they pleased without consequences, and it all made me want to scream, "I wish things were different. What did I do to deserve so much less?" I had the consolation of knowing that there were others at St. Andrews going through similar situations, and who also felt like they and their struggles were invisible in a school made up of so much privilege taken for granted. Many like to think that the solution to assessing our class differences is to simply never address them and to pretend that they don't exist. But when we act like these problems don't exist, we act as if I don't exist. We act as if the students who took steps into the circle during our diversity activity, identifying that they have less than enough, don't exist. And we act as if anyone who has related to this speech does not exist. But they do. You do. And I hear you, and I see you, and I love you. And I hope that long after I have graduated, that this community will do the work necessary to embrace you and not make assumptions about you, and that others may be more aware of the things they say around you or what they post online. I also hope that you will not be afraid to speak out when you feel silence, and have the strength to keep pushing forward in a world that does not always reward you in return. I love St. Andrews and I love this community, but it is important that we continue in the journey of recognizing our differences and checking our privileges. I believe that we have what it takes to be truly inclusive and aware of all those around us, whether those differences are financial or otherwise. And my tough love for this community, for this school, is through the potential that I see for St. Andrews to become the beloved community we strive to be and will keep striving to become for as long as it takes us. Thank you.
I am so grateful for the opportunity to have been able to attend St. Andrews for 4 years of my life. Each year that I was here, I realized I was learning so much about life and about myself, and I am so appreciative to have been able to develop and grow here throughout these past 4 years. I never thought that I would go to boarding school, and quite frankly, even though I grew up in Delaware, I had never even heard of St. Andrews until my older sister Jessica started her application process here and attended in the fall of 2015. When I think about my life now, St. Andrews seems to fit so perfectly into it, and I cannot imagine my journey without this special experience. My freshman year, I remember sitting in the Pell Common Room, thinking about how daunting it felt to have 4 years ahead of me in this place where there was so much newness. The seniors my freshman year constantly reminded us that the 4 years fly by so fast. And at the moment, I didn't believe it, but now I completely do. And you may not believe me when I tell you that your time here will go by fast, but what I do want you to take away is to take in every moment, cherish every friendship, and make as many unforgettable memories as possible. The connections and friendships I have made here are so special to me, and I know a lot of them will last a lifetime. We spend all of our time here at St. Andrews with our friends, faculty, and staff, and the people that surround you quickly become your family. At St. Andrews, you have the opportunity to make deep and meaningful connections with so many different people, and this gives you the chance to understand the type of person you are and gives you the opportunity to find room to grow into the person and friend that you want to be. When I think about how St. Andrews and the connections I have made here have shaped me, I think about 3 things. St. Andrews has made me more independent. I used to be such a homebody, and leaving home at 14 was very hard for me. When I was little, I remember thinking how I was never going to be able to go away to college because I missed home and my mom every time I slept away somewhere. However, that is something St. Andrews has helped me grow out of. The second change comes from the many leadership roles that I was able to experience at St. Andrews. I have noticed that these roles have made me more confident in myself and my ability to be a leader and role model, and I have loved learning how to be a leader alongside so many of my friends.
Without these leadership experiences, I fear I may not have the same willingness to step up to lead that I do today. One last change that I have seen within myself from freshman year to today is that I have become more driven to be who I want to be. I have become more willing to face challenges in life if it means that it will bring me closer to my goals, and I am forever grateful for that. These changes happen for me because of the amazing people that make up this community. The kind and supportive people that I have constantly been surrounded by throughout my St. Andrews experience are who I am most grateful towards for helping me grow, develop into myself, and learn about life. I have recently been thinking about how fast life changes and how many different paths there are in life. I wonder how I would be different today if I had gone to the public high school I had been planning on going to since elementary school. I think about if I would have as much grit, the same goals for my future, or the same determination if I hadn't gone to St. Andrews. I think about this idea that everything we experience shapes us in different ways and points us in different directions that all ultimately lead to a future. For me, this experience of St. Andrews is so special. It is an experience that I had never even once thought about until 6 years ago, and I am so grateful that my sister applied here and that I followed in her footsteps and was able to experience the beauty of St. Andrews for 4 years. From what I can tell, life is full of so many unexpected twists and turns, and when you appreciate and fully take in every part of life that you are handed, that is when you are fully living. My 3 biggest pieces of advice would be to 1, take in every moment of this experience, to go to all the events like the square dance, the frosty run, the carol shout, semi, prom, sports games, and beyond those larger events, to take advantage of this beautiful campus and the people around you and go on adventures. Some of my favorite memories are of doing spontaneous things with friends, and that is the beauty of St. Andrews and life in general. We mostly get to choose what we want and who we want to fill our lives with. My second piece of advice would be to embrace learning and changing, because high school is a time where you are growing into yourself and figuring out who you are and where you want to take your life. Give yourself grace in moments of failure and never let your head down. And lastly, I want you all to fully embrace who you are and to be confident in yourself. For when you love and appreciate yourself and believe in yourself, you can achieve anything. Never let anything stop you from chasing your goals. I want to end with a few lyrics from one of my favorite songs, Humble and Kind by Tim McGraw. Don't take for granted the love this life gives you. When you get where you're going, don't forget, turn back around and help the next one in line. Always stay humble and kind. I know you got mountains to climb, but always stay humble and kind. When those dreams you're dreaming come to you, when the work you put in is realized, let yourself feel the pride, but always stay humble and kind. My favorite part about these lyrics is that Tim McGraw is reminding us to take a moment to thank the people who helped us get to where we are in life, and to appreciate all of the experiences that have led us to the present. He is reminding us to celebrate our successes and accomplishments, but to also stay humble. I really admire when he says, and help the next one in line, because I believe that supporting others and showing others that you genuinely care about them is so important. I love this notion of recognizing the help and support given to you by others, and then passing that love and support forward to other people in your life. There is so much value in showing people you care about them and love them, and being kind to others truly does go a really long way. I hope you make the best out of your time left here, and try to remember that we are all lucky to have the opportunity to experience St. Andrews. I also hope you take a moment to thank the people who have helped you get to where you are today, and the people and experiences that have shaped you into your present self. Thank you to everyone who has shaped me into the person I am today, and to everyone who has made my time here so special and unforgettable.
"6 minutes, Mr. Roach said. 6 minutes to try and sum up what these past 4 years have meant to me. When I first saw the email, I remember sitting at my desk and saying out loud, "What?" Am I crazy or is he crazy? You know, I'm not sure why I contemplated this for so long. Who knows, maybe my initial thoughts still hold some truth. But either way, when I came back to my senses really quickly, I realized that the longer that I just sat there in disbelief, the quicker my 6 minutes will be up. So with that being said, is it okay if I take you all down memory lane really quickly? Great, well here it goes. I came to St. Andrews during a time when division and hatred were at the forefront of news headlines, not unlike today. The weekend of August 11, 2017, as many of you may recall, a white supremacist rally called the Unite the Right rally took place in Charlottesville, Virginia, and a protester named Heather Heyer lost her life and others were injured due to hate. Within a month, and on the heels of this event, I left New Jersey to come here to Delaware. I remember feeling very scared. In retrospect, leaving a predominantly black community to go out of state to attend a predominantly white institution was my way of making a bold statement and a way to inject a sense of adventure and sophistication to my life. It was all hypothetical, a dream, or better yet, a fantasy that seemed like an escape from the horrors of the real world, yet it soon became all too real. On September 7, 2017, our car pulled into the long front driveway, and I immediately felt at home, even though I wasn't home anymore. In a world full of hate and chaos, St. Andrews allowed me to just be. What differentiates St. Andrews from any other institution I know now is the students. The students are the ones who express their dreams and ideas with their voices. We listen, we act, we stand by each other, but we didn't do this all by ourselves. When the student-led March for Our Lives protest in Washington, D.C. was announced, in response to the tragic mass shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, our upperclassmen worked closely with Mr. Roach and a few teachers, coordinated a bus for our students to go into the real world to make meaningful action together. At 15 years old, I felt heard and ready to be a part of change, instead of just viewing it online. We witnessed history when Martin Luther King Jr.'s granddaughter, Yolanda Renee King, took the stage and declared, "Enough is enough." She shouted, "Spread the word. Have you heard?" All across the nation, we are going to be a great generation. In a world full of chaos, St. Andrews allowed me to just be and showed me how to take meaningful action. In October 2018, our community gathered in our chapel as we grieved and prayed for the victims and families of the mass shooting at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Squirrel Hill, a predominantly Jewish neighborhood in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Even though sanctuaries were a target for attack, there was a stillness, a calmness, and a certain peace that permeated our chapel. I found beauty in how we all continue to grow closer, show compassion, express our love and empathy for each other. Our community here at St. Andrews showed me, just like it says in Psalms chapter 46, verse 10, how to be still and know. 2019, my sophomore year, was full of challenges. Even more shootings in Midland, Dayton, and El Paso, while the novel coronavirus evidently was starting to take its deadly toll in the East. It was also when Nicole Hannah-Jones in the New York Times published the 1619 Project, launching a narrative of our country's birth that includes the impact of American slavery. And St. Andrews once again taught me to be present as the world is moving and swirling out of control. I can be steady and ready. Now, I'm sure many of you are keenly aware of the events of 2020. The coronavirus pandemic that shut down our entire economy, disrupted life as we knew it, and changed the world. By the end of 2020, approximately 340,000 individuals lost their lives to COVID-19. Then there was the murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis. In response, many of us took to the streets in our masks and with our signs in solidarity against police brutality. Today, unfortunately, is the anniversary of his death. The summer of global protests awakened many to the reality of at least two Americas, One for the privileged, supported by racism and white supremacy, and one for everyone else. We saw the largest increase in voting between presidential elections on record. Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. of Delaware became POTUS-elect, and Kamala Devi Harris became the first woman, first Black, and first Asian POTUS-elect. You know, I just gotta clap for that. While all of this and more was going on, we safely started the school year together and safely returned to virtual learning during the cold months. St. Andrews still allowing me to be and letting us be together. On January 6th, we witnessed an insurrection. A mob attacked the United States Capitol, the seat of our government, while our elections were being certified. 5 people lost their lives. Among them were Capitol Police Officer Brian David Sicknick and Ashley Babbitt. And although all of these events were and continue to be heavy, my heart began to be lifted, even during these trying moments. St. Andrews became a light for me, not the place, although we do have a beautiful campus, and not the faculty or staff, despite the wisdom and understanding they pour into us every day. For me, my heart was lifted by you, the students, and what we've become together. What began as my bold statement or an injected sense of adventure and sophistication became my quest. I was in search of tomorrow, and quite frankly, in search of me. In the safety of a place that allowed me to be me while the world continued to spin, sometimes seemingly out of control, I was here. I was able to decompress, unwind, and unfold right here with you. I learned the importance of having discipline and perseverance, of self-care and me time, of an abiding spiritual life and prayer, of listening deeply and caring for others, of stepping out on faith and asking for help. You know, that's my greatest strength. I grew, I learned, and I found what I'd come here looking for. As I end this part of my walk down memory lane, I am brought back to the Quincy Jones, Tevin Campbell version of the song Tomorrow from 1989. You know, I'm an old soul. It was actually my 4th grade graduation anthem. While in a bright pink polka dot dress covered in sparkles from the Store of Justice, the lyrics from that day and that song still hold true for me today, and I want to share them with you. Tevin Campbell opened with, "I hope tomorrow will bring better you, better me. I know that we'll show this world we got more we could be. So you should never give up on your hopes and your dreams. You gotta get up, get out, get over it, get it on, to be strong. If we try, we can fly to a whole nother place. All we need is belief and a smile on our face. We can go anywhere we want, any road we decide to take, and you're never too far from tomorrow today. Tomorrow is light in a place where there's none, and we know that now is the time to have faith in us all. You know, we're all in this world, and we all can belong. You gotta get up, get out, get into it, get it on, to be strong." Just like these beautiful lyrics expressed back then, St. Andrews is light, and St. Andrews is tomorrow. All you need is belief and a smile on your face. St. Andrews quiets the outside world, provides the necessary light, and it lets you be you. You can go anywhere you want, any road you decide to take, and you're never too far from St. Andrews in today. The world can be unpredictable, chaotic, and scary at times, but remember, for tomorrow, all you need is belief and a smile on your face, because saints, we have a superpower, and it's us. Thank you.
Let's hear it one more time for these guys. just take a moment now and find that place, that sacred space in your mind, in your heart, and pick out one thing that these seniors shared with you that you want to carry forward from this service. Maybe it's look for moments of joy in tough situations. Maybe it's be transparent about inequalities. Maybe it's make sure you connect. Maybe it's don't worry if you don't have it all figured out. Remember to put yourself out there, to be grateful, to see SAS as your home, as everyone's home, to set your sights high, ask for help, be brave, and spread the word. Amen. Our concluding hymn is the school hymn, so let's all stand and sing this heartily. One piece of advice for you all is if for some reason you don't know one of these seniors or a senior on your dorm or that's on your team, get to know them in these next 3 days and share that memory with them. So, as you loved us,